Hello, and welcome to a Fancy History production. Join me as we venture through the intricate workings of the holy city of Jerusalem in the time of the Crusades. The purpose of this video is to present an accurate account of what coexistence between Christian Crusaders and native Muslims would have truly looked like. Since the dawn of the three Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, Jerusalem has always been a sacred city cherished by each. Under Muslim occupation, Jerusalem was like any other Arabic city, with distinct social classes, religious and economic opportunities, and a vast trade network. Jerusalem followed the Muslim doctrine of the jizya tax, allowing Christians and Jews to publicly practice their religions at the cost of a higher tax. With Pope Urban's call to arms in 1095 against the Muslim invaders in Anatolia, Jerusalem would change drastically for the next 200 years. The Crusaders have built a very popular image in media, representing both virtue and chivalry, as well as taking up arms in defense of God Almighty. When watching movies or reading books that were based in the West, it is very easy to assume the entire 200 years of the Crusades as being just one long drawn-out battle between good and evil. Fortunately for the people of Europe and the Middle East, this was not the case. One popular film, Kingdom of Heaven, that was directed by Ridley Scott and released in 2005, presents an excellent account of the political and humane aspects of the Crusades, one that went beyond the typical religion made them do it argument. As this picture shows, the Crusades were filled with negotiating and bargaining between the Christians and Muslims, with many campaigns being dominated by political intrigue. When considering the lives of the Christians who would settle in Jerusalem and the native Muslims already living there, day-to-day life was for the most part unaffected by the Crusades. Peasants were peasants, regardless if it was a Christian or Muslim ruler, with evidence showing that the importance of agriculture as a commercial business removed the allowance for any religious intolerance that may have been put towards the workers that might have affected the economy. In the case of Christian occupations, the lack of a native aristocracy to challenge Christian rule also made it easy for the Christians and Muslims to cooperate and get along. Jerusalem was the breeding ground for a diverse culture, one that blended Christian and Muslim cultures. Christians and Muslims would engage in daily activities with each other, such as chess, music, art, scholasticism, and even just working together. A sense of need also inspired cooperation, with Christian settlers relying on Muslims to look after their family and Christian doctors to learn how to treat the new diseases they faced from Muslim doctors. When thinking of the relationship that existed between the Crusaders and the Muslims, we often believe that there was this innate hatred that existed between the two, but we see that this isn't true. With the clip from the film Kingdom of Heaven, it shows an excellent example of the respect that was commonplace between Crusaders and Muslims.
Take the horse. And be about your business.
This is your prize of battle. I'm your prisoner, your slave, should you wish it.
I have been a slave, or very near to one. I will never keep one nor suffer any to be kept. Go.
The man you killed was a very great cavalier among the Muslims. His name was Muhammad al-Fais.
I will pray for him.
Your quality will be known among your enemies before ever you meet them, my friend.
We can see a more academic account of these acts of kindness with the memoirs of the Muqaddite prince Usama of Shaizar. In his accounts, he often engaged in conversation with Frankish friends through his journeys, and he was impressed with the liberal treatment that they showed to women in their society. The most exceptional part of Usama's story is his interaction with a group of crusaders in the Mosque Al-Aqsa. In his story, Usama is praying in the corner of the mosque with permission from a group of Knights Templar who are also there. While Usama is praying, a Templar comes over and starts harassing and insulting him, whereupon another Templar comes over, scolds the man, and apologizes to Usama, telling him the rude man was new and did not know any better. Brutal and horrific acts of war were also condemned by both sides, with an example being Reynald of Chatillon being condemned by fellow Christians for his brutal treatment of Muslim pilgrims. There is a general practice among Crusaders to adopt a Muslim way of life upon their arrival to the Holy Land. Crusaders would wear Eastern garb over their armor, or wear it in place of their armor. When a knight was not in armor, he wore a silk burnous and usually a turban. On campaigns, he wore a linen surcoat over his armor to protect the metal from the heat of the sun, and a keffeh in the Arab style over his helmet. Women followed suit, wearing traditionally Eastern-style dresses, and would even cover up in burqas and hijabs when outdoors. This practice was simply based around practicality, as it would be unreasonable to wear 100 pounds of chainmail and armor in the Arab heat on a daily basis. As clothing is a very superficial example of cultures mingling, I would be remiss if I did not mention the practice of intermarrying that occurred between Christians and Muslims. Intermarrying would produce generations in which everything the child knew was a combination of the culture from both their parents. There is and has been for a very long time a common belief, that Christianity and Islam are two incompatible religions. Jerusalem is a shining example to prove that assumption wrong. Jerusalem during the Crusades was the epicenter for what is considered the most significant conflicts in history based on religion, and in that, religions were in fact prospering and coexisting. There was not complete religious intolerance, as they both shared a common background. Christian and Muslim scholars were interested in the same relics, and pilgrims were allowed access to temples no matter the occupation, Christian or Muslim. Heretical sects of Christianity and Islam maintained security and right to practice in Jerusalem, even holding a spot in the Holy Sepulchre. The administration of law and everything surrounding that is a very important topic when we consider the coexistence of Christians and Muslims. During the Frankish occupation, Muslim subjects accepted their masters calmly and admitted the justice of their administration. There was equal treatment under the legal system, with Muslims and Christians both enjoying fair and just law. In addition to the single uniform legal system, after the Sixth Crusade in the early 13th century, Muslims were also granted a qadi, a magistrate who could adjudicate on Sharia law. This development was due in large thanks to al-Malik al-Kamil, the Sultan of Egypt at the time, who negotiated with the Crusaders extensively. This beautiful room is the Chapel of St. Helena, a wonderful addition that came with the renovations on the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in the mid-12th century. This room shows a strong blending of late-stage Romanesque architecture through its massive pillars, capitals, and a dome roof, with an Islamic style intermingled with it, with its low-hanging ornaments, floor decoration, and elegantly adorned chandelier. Arguably the most beautiful effect of acculturation was the creation of the brand new Crusader art style, which took inspiration from both European and Arabic art. Frankish Crusaders started to adopt Byzantine and Muslim arts and architecture styles, changing it over time into something its own. Crusader art was this wonderful hidden gem that just developed on its own over time from the coexistence of Christians and Muslims, bringing together what is arguably the most sacred part of a culture to create something brand new. It is always easy to get caught up in the sensational atmosphere that is so prevalent in today's society. I hope this video has answered some questions or concerns you may have had about this topic, and that you leave here spreading your knowledge and educating others. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see others similar to it, then like, subscribe, and leave comments down below.